This is how you make the best Southern macaroni and cheese ever. Yes, we're going to be making it from scratch. Let me deliver you from the Blue Box Blues. You have to shred your own cheese to avoid having a clumpy mess from the cellulose on pre-shredded cheese. It's easier to shred when it's ice cold and fresh out the fridge. I'm using Colby Jack, sharp cheddar, and one more cheese. Now, I know how my people like to tussle over this next one, but Velveeta is a very necessary ingredient because it will stabilize the sauce and keep it from breaking. Just don't tell nobody. After prepping all the cheese, I set it to the side to let it come up to room temperature. Then I boil my pasta. I use chicken broth, not water. This is a tip that I got from Chef Ed. And I took it a step farther by adding some smashed garlic and boiling it in the broth for about 20 minutes. I pull the garlic out after this step because I don't trust myself to fish it out of the pasta after it's cooked. Then I add some salt and I use a pound of cellentani because it's the perfect shape for macaroni and cheese. I cook it for about 11 minutes or until it's barely al dente. It will continue to cook a bit further in the oven and it'll get a little bit softer. My tongue squeeze method for pasta doneness is not scientific, but it hasn't failed me yet. Then I make my cheese sauce. I start with the butter, I put it in the pan and let it melt down for a couple minutes. Then I add my flour and stir it until it's well combined. This is going to be a blonde roux, so I do not allow it to brown, but I do cook the flour thoroughly before adding the milk. Then I add in my room temperature milk a little bit at a time and I stir it well after each addition. Once that's nice and smooth, I add in my heavy cream and stir it in really well. Then I add in my sour cream and stir it in until it's smooth. Then I add Dijon mustard and it adds to the flavor. Please don't knock it until you've tried it. It is so good. Then I add in a good amount of black pepper. At this point, I turn the heat off under the pan and then I stir in my Velveeta until it's nice and smooth. Then I add in my cheeses. I start with my sharp cheddar and put half of the sharp cheddar in there and I stir that up till it's nice and smooth. Then I go with my Colby Jack, put half of that in there and I stir it up until it's nice and smooth. The other half of these cheeses are going to go in between the layers of the macaroni and cheese and on top. To finish off the sauce, I add in another half of a stick of butter at room temperature. And then I also add in another cup of room temperature milk. I did not record myself adding the milk. I forgot to hit record, my bad, but it really helps loosen up the sauce and give it a nice creamy texture. So after I add in the strained pasta, I give it a good stir and then I put half of the macaroni and cheese into the casserole dish and then I top that half with some cheese. Then I dump in the remaining half of the macaroni and cheese and then whatever cheese I have left, I put it all on top and then I get ready to go ahead and throw it in the oven. Then I bake it in the oven at 375 for about 25 minutes or until it's golden and bubbly. Most people go ahead and put it under the broiler for about 5 minutes to get it a deep golden. I'm not one of those people. I like my mac and cheese nice and gooey, but you do what you do, boo. After I take it out the oven, I sprinkle some parsley on top just because it makes for a better thumbnail and then I plate me up some. Look at that.